Hi and welcome to another GC Mysteries video, where this time we are looking at the tragic Jayden Parkinson murder. Okay, so the lovely little lady you see on your screens now is called Jayden Parkinson, and she's from Oxfordshire. Now, she had the misfortune to meet a man, well, he would have been a lad at that time, called Ben Blakely. That was in 2013. Now, it seemed at first, for a very short moment, that their relationship was a good one, and it soon turned into one where he was controlling, not just in a normal you'll go where I go and you'll, or where I say and you'll do what I say you can do. She was in a hostel with him and wasn't even allowed to go to the toilet in this hostel. She had to do her business in containers. Now, this is how controlling and abusive he were with her. Now, unfortunately, he murdered her in 2013, but he did not just murder her, he abused her for months. He tortured her, he even burnt her, before he finally strangled her in a barn and buried her in, a matter of fact, he dug up his uncle's grave, buried Jayden Parkinson with his uncle, and then covered it up. That is some sick, sadistic head. Okay? That is not normal. Even murderers, I have seen many murder programs, not just in the United Kingdom but in the United States. I have never heard of one where the murderer has dug either his or her own family member's grave up to put the person that they have murdered there before covering them up again. That is not normal, right? Now, Samantha Shrewsbury is calling for a register of domestic abusers, and now this isn't a bad idea. Although the government up to now don't seem to like it, it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea because all she's asking for is the same kind of register that sex offenders have, where they have to sign on to a register, and therefore, you know, people would be able to go to that register or whatever and find out, does my partner have a history of domestic abuse? Does he have a history of beating his girlfriend up, or boyfriend in some cases? You know, it's not a bad idea at all. Now, Samantha Shrewsbury actually kissed, and this is another thing. At the time that Jayden Parkinson was murdered, she was aged 17 and pregnant with Ben Blakely's child. So he didn't just take one life, he took her life and her unborn baby's life. Right? So anyway, Samantha Shrewsbury kissed her pregnant daughter goodbye and walked away, looking forward to a shopping trip that she'd arranged with Jayden that was meant to happen 3 days later. But the night that her mum said goodbye to her and walked away after kissing her daughter, was the night that Jayden went to meet her abusive ex, Ben Blakely, and never returned. So what actually happened was that Jayden went missing for 16 days. It wasn't quite 16 days, but that's how long it took the police to find her body. And they found her body because Ben's brother Jake, who was also 17 at the time, broke down and told police where she was. Now, it's sickening that, you know, you can't get in a relationship these days without wondering what kind of past your partner has. And that is why Samantha is calling for a register. There is a sex abuse register. Samantha is asking for a domestic abuse register to warn people, and it would save many lives. And a great example of that is Jayden's murder was the 131st domestic abuse victim to lose her life that year. Another statistic for you is that in 2017, 139 women died at the hands of a partner or ex-partner. And unfortunately, because Jayden's body had to be formally identified, it was her grieving mother Samantha that had to do that, and she has said that she is haunted by memories of identifying Jayden's ruined body every waking moment. Continuing on, saying, "It was the worst thing that I ever had to do in my life. It broke me. I can't get the picture out of my head. I can't get the smell of the place out of my head. It's not nice looking at your daughter laying on a big slab with bandages round her head and her hands because they had taken samples for the post-mortem from her. She had literally been eaten by creatures, so they had to sew her lip up. I had to identify her from the tattoo on her arm, which, by the way, Jayden and Samantha had matching tattoos. So she had to identify her from the tattoo on her arm, which matches her own arm. She says, all that will stay in my head forever. He murdered our pregnant cat to keep her in line. That is one. Now, there's a lot of words that I could use and a lot of actions I could say should be done to Ben Blakely. But due to a risk of YouTube taking it off, I am not allowed to in my videos, otherwise you would know exactly what I think. But growing up in Kent, Jayden, the youngest of three, was feisty, cheeky and cute. and as you will have seen in some of the photos in this video, was very close to her mum. Now, Samantha split with Jayden's dad Paul when her daughter was 7, and she later moved to Oxfordshire, where Ben Blakely came into their lives. Now, he seemed nice. He was polite and like any other lad at the start. But it was soon to be his downfall. Now, he was found guilty of murder and jailed for life with a minimum term of 20 years. And unfortunately, because Ben got his brother Jake involved, Jake Blakely was sentenced to 3 years in prison for perverting the course of justice and will have since been released. But if you want to help Jayden's movement, the bill that Sam is sending, you can search for Jayden's gift on Facebook and you shall find the page and a lot more of the information on that. But unfortunately, hopefully her life was not taken in vain. Thank you for watching this GC Mysteries video. If you liked it, please like, subscribe and click the notification bell. If you can, support us on Patreon at patreon.com/GC Mysteries. See us on Facebook and Twitter, GC Mysteries, and bye bye for now.